flow and development. He defined policies or law as a program of government that should be adopted. He situated it as policies that should be adopted with the economic, social, cultural, and political conditions of the people in mind. And one could see, when we look at the initiative of Clean and Green, that the administration ensured that this program was adopted by the people. And how did the administration do this? It's regulatory design. This program originated from law and gave birth to NTRAC, I mentioned before, gave birth to IROMA, Imo Road Maintenance Agency, which was an agency saddled with responsibility to open up the hinterlands. Under that administration, every part of Imo was, to a very considerable extent, motorable, because every festive period, equipments are deployed to the hinterlands, to the urban areas, everywhere, to ensure that there are free, motorable roads. And the overall benefit of this is that people had access to markets, to their farms, to their villages, could export, could move farm produce from one part of Imo to the other. Unlike what we have, permit me, even now, where you go to some areas and you don't see motorable roads in rural communities. So this was a people-oriented program, and it has this anticipated policy outcome. The outcome is that people should buy into it. Expected outcome, people should benefit from it. Expected outcome, people should have healthy living. Expected outcome, to reduce rates of accidents, even in the state, as at that time, like Professor Remuche rightly said, the state was decongested with motorcycles, taxis, buses, all forms of cars. Everywhere was in a chaotic atmosphere, was chaotic. But the administration thought out a plan. And through this Clean and Green initiative, because it's multifaceted, it's not just related to cleaning the environment, cleaning the gutters. No, it went ahead to even supervise eateries, hotels. Some people don't know, you just go into a hotel where you check in to spend the night, you order for food, you don't know whether the condiments they used in preparing your food are expired. Nobody knows whether the environment has been fumigated. But under the Clean and Green program of Dr. Ikedo Hakim, these were silent areas the government touched. People could, to a very large extent, trust what they ate in public places, because government took time to ensure public safety through this Clean and Green initiative. Government also ensured that there was regulatory compliance, because it set up mobile courts, it set up task force that apprehended people who disobeyed the law. At that time in Imo, it was almost, in fact, it was a crime for anybody to drop sachet water. If you go into public vehicles, you'll see that there are baskets, waste baskets in buses, the urban mass transit buses, the green taxis. All of them were mandated to have these baskets to collect debts, collect, packets, wastes like plastics, sachet water, plastic Coke bottles, plastic cans of drinks. They were all dumped into those baskets. And then every driver now has the responsibility to ensure that these wastes are properly collected and deposited for, for that recycling or destruction, whatever the outcome may be. So people understood that, look, failure to obey these rules, I'm going to land into trouble. I'm going to face the court, the mobile court. I'm going to pay fine. People complied. Another mechanism employed by the administration is the quality of its implementation. Its regulatory, implementation of its own regulation. Today in Nigeria, the problem we have, in fact in Africa, is the inability of our people to, even government, to implement its own policy. To a very large extent, Nigeria has beautiful laws that should moderate issues of environmental degradation, ensure environmental cleanliness, and all that. And these laws have provisions for punishment and sanctions for failure to do the right thing. But the problem now is that there are inability of administrations led by chief executives to implement these laws to the letter. For instance, I'm a brother to a governor, and I come out on the street and throw away sachet water pack, or throw away bottle, or throw away refuse on the road, and nobody will bring me to book, simply because I am related to the high and mighty. But the government of Dr. Ikedo Hakim made it a call of duty. Even the governor himself, in the night and early hours of the morning, he runs around the state, personally looking out, trying to ensure that his subordinates, his staff, were doing the right thing. Even when he sees things not going well, you see him positioning by himself, coming down to, move waste baskets from one place to the other to ensure that the right thing is done. So he showed that he has the capacity to drive the policy of the Clean and Green Initiative. I've mentioned that he did that with the cooperation of the House of Assembly by establishing Law Number 3 of 2008. I've mentioned that he also and his cabinet made it a call of duty to drive this program. And finally, another problem that makes it somewhat difficult to drive policies like this are judicial decisions of our courts. When the court don't stand on its feet to do the right thing, or to nail, to put the hammer on the nail, there won't be that enthusiasm to drive the process. If the government prosecutes offenders or people who damage our environment, the court ought to do the right thing and bring them to book. If law enforcement bring these people before the court, and the court renders judgments that is people-oriented, there will be, to a very large extent, compliance will be possible. So looking at it from this angle, the administration ensured that mobile courts that were proactive, that were doing justice, were established. The administration ensured that there was political will on the part of the leadership. And again, it ensured there was a legislation. So looking at it from this prisms, one could agree that the administration was set out to accomplish great feats. Just in 2018, a report came out that the Haradishan University of India set up the CGI program. This CGI program, which is Clean and Green Initiative Program, established in 2018 in that university in India, is just to encourage the same thing Dr. Hakim was preaching about in 2007 through 2011 when the administration was cut short. So it is really, this program is really a very, very a good program that should be encouraged all over Nigeria and Africa. Rwanda is a model state today because it is practicing clean and green. Imo State won accolades for 3 years, was acknowledged as the cleanest city. OWERRI was reckoned as the cleanest city in Nigeria. It was not just by mere talks. There were concrete actions on ground to make that possible. He won accolades, he won laurels, and got recognition across the globe. No wonder Imo became a destination of choice within that period. All aircrafts were routed towards OWERRI. Hotels every day completely booked. And, in the course of this conversation, I may have to also look at this subject from other angles. But for now, let me give room for other speakers to make their contributions.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Dubem. I think very soon we'll call for Q&A, which I believe that Dr. Mo will anchor. To remind our listeners too, this event is organized to promote the Clean and Green Initiative as a policy answer to this year's World Environment Day, to the theme of this year's World Environment Day. So Ambassador Dubem has given us legal and institutional framework for that program, that powerful policy, as an answer to this year's theme, which, is reading the world of plastic pollution. So, Dr. Mo, I don't know, Dr. Mo should anchor the Q&A session, I believe. I believe that one or two or three people in the audience will have questions. I saw somebody raising their hand. So, Dr. Mo, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Vice Ngozi, Field of Roses, and everyone that has been here. I see a couple of people. Favor Johnson. I see Dr. Haruna Goro is here. Thank you. I see Mazi Njenje, who is doing us very proud within this ecosystem. For those who are here, Mazi has a platform which this particular World Environmental Day event has been streamed to over 100,000 people, even as we're here right now. And I want to thank you for that support and escalation of this. And I mean, every other person here, I want to thank you for, being here to listen and also to engage. We'll quickly take questions. I see Precious. Maybe we'll just take your question. And I see Professor John D is gone down. You probably would have to come up because the questions might be directed at you. And also to say thanks to Dr. and Professor Dubem and Uchiremi, who have also been able to give their, expert remark on this particular very important subject matter. I mean, there are other things that we could deal with, but I think for now, because, sometimes when you are dealing with issues that are very critical to us as a people, um, especially within the street of the X space, people have been wired to only deal and attend to issues of politics. And this is where our part of the narrative challenge and what we have been doing with some of our platforms is to ensure that we're able to raise the consciousness of people to be able to look on the path and on the ways of um, politicians or individuals who understands the critical issues as concerning our environment, health, education, things that really would help, our people, Professor Dubem, can you just put your mic off if you can, so that, because thank you. this has been recorded and also channeled to a much bigger audience. Precious, I'll let you come in, but I am also going to speak about certain nuances that will help our audience and people listen, because sometimes we are caught, especially Nigerians, we're caught in the web of people who know how to weaponize our policy, our polity rather, and we are easily swayed, and we're not paying attention. And that's why you see again and again, Nigeria is churning out leaders who are completely, without the mindset and the leadership qualities to be able to drive policies and essentials that will help to grow us as a people. This is part of what we have to do in big scale, and we have to do it over and over again to be able to, bring out icons, leaders, be able to move people away from just sensationalism, to real quality leadership. On a normal day, on a space like this, without the channeling of the information to NjenjeMedia, you have thousands and thousands of people. What we have been over and over again, because of the weaponization of our polity and governance structure and system, Nigeria has produced people who have become very shallow, who are not, who cannot engage critically, when it comes to the real issues. And this is why platforms like this are very, very important. Precious, let's take your question. Precious, are you there?
Okay, good evening, doctor. Good evening. Yes, can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. All right. Good evening, sir. Good evening, everybody. And to our speaker who just spoke, good evening. My question is, how can Nigeria effectively integrate informal waste pickers and recyclers into the formal economy to promote social and environmental sustainability? I don't know if you got that.
Precious, you need to take the question again. And okay, thank goodness we have Dr. John D is here. All our speakers are listening. Just take it slowly so that any of them can respond to this.
All right, I'll take it again. Now, my question is this. How can Nigeria effectively integrate informal waste pickers and recyclers into the formal economy to promote social inclusion and environmental sustainability? Was that better, sir?
I'm trying to make, I think the network keep cutting in. So I don't know if Field of Roses or any of our distinguished professors, Dr. Digi, I don't know if any of you was
Yeah,
able to catch up with the question.
yeah, I got the question. I got the question. I think
Okay.
what she's trying to ask is how our system can integrate informal waste, management generally. In fact, informal waste pickers. Let me put it that way. People who maybe roadside waste pickers or something. I don't know how to put it into the formal sector. So I think. Well, I don't know. I'll give it to the experts, the profs amongst us to answer the question. But I think we can respond to that through developing a legal framework that will accommodate such system. But I'll leave it to the experts to answer. Thank you. I don't know if they got the question.
I think I got the question, and I will respond with a practical example whereby a number of recycling plants in one or two places, one of which is in FUTO, a recycling facility, a waste to wealth management facility. One of them is in FUTO, has been recycling certain categories of this waste. I think that's the first phase. The second phase being that most of these scavengers or waste pickers, whatever they are called, are being identified and registered through groups. They are being made to form things like clusters where they gather such waste as needed and then supply to the plant or the recycler. And then you get to know them, you get to relate with them, you get to know the type of waste each of those scavengers pick and the quality of those wastes for which further production will be made. I am believing that once this is done on a large scale, possibly some of the governments are into right now the state governments are in right now into waste management. They can also, with the funding strength, bring in experts who will introduce the issue of recycling and get all the suppliers, in quote, suppliers of the wastes, who are the pickers or their agents, formed into clusters. And then we can relate with these clusters. The clusters will have management and the clusters will network among themselves to know what is being supplied to where. By these measures, they will be, it is a kind of right thing to do to get them introduced into the formal waste management environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof, for that explanation and giving us a practical example of how that was done, and also, I mean, still ongoing. Thank you for that. I see those on the stage. Is that the Nigerian citizen? Are you there?
Yes, sir, I am here. Thank you very much, Dr. Mo, for putting this together. Amiable professors, I really appreciate how you have all been able to contribute to the discussion, and how we have, if you look at Nigeria today, for example, we have a lot of challenges with trying to get our environments green. We know that the floods, for example, in Niger State that took over 200 lives is also a product of some form in some way or form of environmental neglect, right? When floods like this happen, it means that somebody is probably ignoring something that should be done. Deforestation, oil pollution, for example, in the Niger Delta. All of these are products of environmental neglect, one way or the other, right? Most of the time, if you look at it, a lot of people focus on things like renewable energy and look at how we can look at reusable plastics, etc., and all of those things that are related to that. But for me, I look at it from a perspective of how exactly can we involve, for example, the rural areas in this. So the question that I have in one way is how exactly can we integrate the underserved communities, right? More remote places, because the thing is that everything that all of us share the same air, whether we like it or not. All of us share the same cloud. So we may be doing something right in Ihagwa, for example. We may be doing something right in Nekede. And if somebody is not doing something right in Ngokpala, it may affect us, in OWERRI. That brings my question is how are there ways that, whether we are currently doing that right now or plans to even do that as well as a community, or are there initiatives that we feel that will improve inclusivity, right? Where even the rural areas, the remote areas will also be involved, or we can scale these initiatives to the rural or more remote communities. That's my question, sir. Thank you, Prof.
Okay. Let me try
Fantastic.
to put some light on this question.
Yes.
Of course, in Nigeria, we have about I think 3 structures or even 4 structures of government. You have the federal government, you have the state and local government, and even come to the town unions. So if the local government are functioning very effectively, they can extend same to the 4th tier, which is the town unions. So whatever information, whatever program you are mounting in the city, you move such programs also to the local government. And the local government should be able, because they know themselves, they should be able to inculcate such values into the people. It's not a point. Of course, there's no city. The rural areas most often are where you feed the town. And sometimes you can plan policies that can make the villages very attractive. Make the village very attractive. And if you make the village very attractive, put in good hospitals that are functional, put in good schools. People may even like to stay in the village better than even the town. Because in the town areas, you have factories that pollute the environment. But for the village and rural areas are calm, close to nature. Of course, big shots may even like to stay in the village if it is safe. Of course, we must also address the emerging trend of insecurity now that is even worse in the village. So if the village is free, no insecurity, people may like to stay there. So what I'm saying to ensure what you've just said is that we have to make our rural area local government very attractive by pushing down what we do here to them. And then people making sure they have good schools, they have good hospitals, and also they have some things they can do. Some of them are farmers, and they can make sure you have transportation that can bring out what they produce into the town. Once that is there, I'm sure most people like to stay in the village than even stay in the town. Because one, it is better, it's freer, it's close to nature. Thank you very much.
Sorry, Dr. Mo. I'm so sorry, if you will permit me. I want to call on Ambassador Dubem to respond to this last question. I want him to shed more light on Iroma as a response to this question. What role did Iroma play? Because the last question was interesting. So I want Ambassador Dubem to throw more light on Iroma in response to the last question. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Barrister Ngozi. I'm going to attempt, to merge the two together. For the first question, I'm going to make reference to 2 democracies, South Africa and Brazil. These 2 countries have found a way to manage the informal pickers. I think that's what she asked of in the informal pickers. The informal pickers, here in Nigeria, we have people that pick waste. And more often than not, some of these people in recent times some people now see them committing some kind of atrocities. Sometimes people carry people's generators. Some will burgle people's homes and all that. And like Professor Remuche said, we live in difficult times because of insecurity. So the problem is multifaceted. It makes it a bit uncomfortable for people to just see pickers everywhere. But government can take the model of South Africa and Brazil. in these two democracies, what they did is to ensure training and capacity building for their people. They ensured there is training and capacity building for their people. They also ensured that there is collaboration with informal waste management systems between the and the formal management systems. And this collaboration stems from the local government. So you see that in all these conversations, local government is critical to national development. So because it's the local government that should identify these informal pickers and ensure that they are not a threat to the system. They should form a coalition center through which or from where they can now engage them with the former waste management systems. And on the part of government to ensure they ensured fair compensations for these people. Because if these guys know that, look, for God's sake, if I pick something, if I pick plastics and drop it, take it safely to where government wants me to say, take it to, somebody is out there to pay me for my services. People will not do crimes. You won't even see any plastic littering anywhere because Nigerians are wired that way to look at the economic aspect of everything they do. Everybody wants money in his pocket or her pocket. So, and again, if there is social protection for these people, preventing them from, encountering some kind of harm when they go to do their jobs or to pick waste, if there is support to ensure there is security for them, everything will work out fine. And then, to make this work, there is still need for a regulatory framework. There is need for a law that we look at. So this is a very important aspect of our national life that requires legislation. So I would pray that those in the houses of assemblies of different states and even the National Assembly will look into this aspect of our national life to enact laws that can help manage and create job. Because if this is properly harnessed, you see that job creation will be easy. In Imo, within the period under conversation, 2007, 2011, it is a common knowledge that street pickers, people who are picking plastics, got compensated. Road sweepers got compensated because people sweep roads 2 times every day. You see them, some do morning, early hours of the morning, you see people sweeping the road, the streets, the environment. Then in the evening, you still see people who sweep. These people were employed by government and were earning salaries and allowances from government for doing their job. For me, I remember I knew some people from my place that were part of this scheme, and through that means government sustained them. So it's a means of job creation. So it's encouraged that if local governments should wear their thinking caps, collaborate with government at the state and center to ensure that jobs are created for these people. So under the administration of Dr. Hakim, this happened. And that brings me back to the Roma question. That is the Imo Rural Maintenance Agency, which was created to address rural needs, infrastructural needs, provided equipment and employment opportunities to maintain rural roads. This IROMA program was another means of fostering the culture of environmental responsibility amongst our people living in the rural areas. People were conscious about this. People knew that if I pick a bottle of used Ever water, I can save it. It can be used for various things. And people really do it. Even now, if you look at some social media platforms, sometimes you see people being celebrated for using plastic bottles, plastic cans, sorry, to build houses. These are, means of job creation, means of creating wealth. So the DrMo program was geared towards ensuring compliance with government policy and programs like the Clean and Green Initiative, bring it home, down to the local governments, down to the communities, down to the villages. Everybody localized it, and from grassroots up, it created job. Don't forget the 10,000 job program. This was another means of creating job for Imo people, Imo youths, before the administration was truncated. So it's a very important subject. We need to really take it very serious. And for our lawmakers, we can look at answers to that first question, just as the administration of Dr. Hakim also made great inroads into ensuring that clean and green was sustained. But for the political mishap that took place in 2011 and truncated that administration, stopped it from going for second term, it would have been a true model for other people to copy. So it's encouraged really that we should speak to our lawmakers, our brothers in various terms of government to ensure that more legislations are brought to life to ensure a healthy environment and to take care of these informal pickers because their role is critical in our national life. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I just quickly? I apologize.
Okay, just take your question because you're rounding up now.
Okay, yeah, I'm so sorry. I kind of, yes. When Dr. Uche was answering the question, or yeah, even the last speaker, Mr. Dube mentioned it. It kind of hit me that yes, a lot of a part has to be played by even the government, right, in making this work. And for some reason, I don't know whether it's just me, but I see Dr. Hakim. I don't know if he's on the speaker section or he's on the listener section. I don't. If it would be nice, in my opinion, to even bring him up because really, I'm very interested in how this whole environment thing may have played out. Maybe there is nothing that is as good as hearing from the horse's mouth, for example. In fact, there's none that's even better than if someone tells me, "Oh, this is exactly what I faced when I was trying to do this," except that's not the correct Dr. Hakim. I don't know. Yeah, but for me, I think if it's possible, this is just me making a request. That yes, let's even hear from those that have been on that side of the political divide, right? To say, based on the issues that we are faced with trying to get a working environment, right? The Southeast, for example, used to be very, very dirty, right? How did various governments try to fix this problem? I see what, for example, is happening in Abia State today and how they are doing a great job using ASEPA to fix the environment problem. So how exactly can governments play parts in this one now, not just from the academic side, but also from the political side and the political will of not just the government, but even the people to also follow along on this. So that's just my own comment. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. For the sake of our time, I'm going to see how I can talk to Marisa Ngozi. We should be able to, because the whole of this discussion in one way or the other has to do with something in terms of legacy of Dr. Hakim. I would rather that we create, because we just have barely 20 minutes to spend here. And this is in commemoration of the 2025 World Environmental Day. It will be very important for us to schedule a time where we can properly advertise. Thankfully, we have people like NjenjeMedia here who have over 150,000 followers who are also listening here. So we'll take part of this skit and uh, put them out there, get people like Dr. Aruna Goro and myself to probably advertise this and get a whole lot of people to come in and be able to interrogate Dr. Ikedi and also talk to him and let's hear from him, talk about his legacy, what he was able to do and how he was able to go about it. And also, but that's what I would request just for the sake of our time here as we wander. But I think that was a very important one because there's no way we can be making references to a man's legacy, given the fact that we live in an age where we can hear from him regardless of where he is on the face of the earth. I would make that request and we'll have as maybe as part of this journey. And like I said earlier, that we need people who understands what will help us in terms of our critical areas of environment, of education, of health, and people who understand how we can, prioritize policies to go into government. These are the kinds of people that we should be able to, stand for and speak for, regardless of. This is the only way our country can move forward. In any case, and so I would do that. But as we begin to wind down, I also want to just shed some questions to our speakers, and they can respond as also part of their closing remarks as we begin to wind down this important conversation today. I'm looking at, vis-a-vis the fact that we live in a we're Christian with being the poverty capital of the world. We have Nigeria's produced so many poor people, and I also understand that like the example that somebody gave about Niger State. I've been to some of those places where the people at the receiving end are the real poor people, and those who also um, have it the most difficult to be able to understand the narrative of our conversation are still the same demography. What do we need to do? How do we scale down to be able to engraft an understanding for these people? On one part, I want one of these speakers to be able to respond to that. And also, what, since our environments are tied to our livelihood, farmers, fishermen, street vendors, I know that Prof alluded to that, and the waste pickers and waste pickers, and all those people who depend on land, water, and air, to survive. How 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 do we connect them, to the degraded environmental education that will help to be able to, lift them, out of, how do we harvest, how does, find it difficult to connect the question, how do we, because they are the, when we talk about food insecurity, when we talk about, they are the receiving end. And in a country like Nigeria, how do we connect the dots for them to be able to understand our narrative of conversation? And of course, in terms of the health impact, that, that connection with our people, since they are the bulk of the people, how do we do that? That's my question. As they go, Ngozi, you can chip in before they give their closing remarks on this.
Well, I will chip in not in response to your last question because the experts are here with us to give you a response. But, in terms of your comments about His Excellency Dr. Ikedi or Hakim, in terms of us, convening a platform where His Excellency we can hear from the horse's mouth. I can assure you that His Excellency is a policy wonk. And I can also assure you that this is, a demo version of what we are planning. So we'll make efforts to bring His Excellency on stream to address us, directly on some of these issues. He's a policy wonk, so he'll be very much interested. And also, may I also confirm that he's here with us as a listener. So for this demo version of what we're doing. So thank you very much. That's as much I will say for now. Thank you. So I'll hand over to either Dubem, Professor Remy, or Professor John to answer your question. Thank you.
Okay, by way of closing remarks, let me say that, in all honesty, the rural areas are being heavily neglected. And be that as it may, they can also reach out to certain level of wealth. If, for example, we connect waste reduction with wealth creation, whereby the pickers or serving in whatever category can really, as Ambassador Dubeb said, make some money, some good money for themselves out of to sustain the program. It will not just be achievable, but it will be desirable. The people will welcome it as they welcome the issue of street sweeping, provided the driver of that program is responding to them, is alive and active, and ensure that they get their due, what is due to them. Now, involving the tertiary institutions is critical too, because research is the engine of progress. From research and patency, you can actually continue to elongate policies. And then most of these programs or initiatives will probably, for those it is meant for, either in the city or in the rural areas, will have effects on the short term and effects on the long term. If the clean and green had been anchored on that premise, possibly even the truncation wouldn't have harmed a very laudable program like that. At least we would have been having some feelings of positivity of that initiative before it was sadly truncated. Now, we also will have to go into private-public partnership, because most of the sole proprietors who operate either in the rural areas or in the city will have one or two things to contribute. And if they are organized by way of, I said earlier, clusters, which now relates to governmental agencies, it will also benefit them, particularly when they engage in green jobs. Things like growing tree nurseries for the green and for the clean and green initiative, nursery development, and plastic repurposing, composting. Most of the time, when you go outside, you see how trees are nurtured. And mostly in most of those areas, in the night or in the evening, you see composting around the trees. And where are those things produced? It can be locals in those areas who engage and who are paid to engage in all those activities. And by that, the economy of their pockets will be swelling, and they will welcome and ensure that the program is not truncated.
Okay, in my own part of concluding remarks, just like my colleague said, insecurity, particularly in the rural areas, where most often there are no government present, is key to this conversation. Because the people, even those people, these informal pickers, some of them are not even sure of survival. And some of them engage in this informal setting because of frustration and are vulnerable to all other minds, other forms of criminality. A number of times in my university now, you see these people they call Babambola, these informal pickers. They have pulled down all the louvers in the university. Their eye don't see armored cables. And these things they sell in the market, if you have your house, they can come there, pull all the wires, do all manner of things. I think the government should, as a matter of fact, come up with some form of regime that can regulate these people, which we call even scavengers. Because what they do, you think they are trying to convert waste to wealth. They are involved in criminalities of immeasurable dimension. Some of them are informers to kidnappers. Some of them are also part of kidnapping. So, in as much as we say yes, they can go and get all this, but I think there's a need to go now and begin to monitor the activities of these people who struggle, say that picking. It's very, very important, both in the rural areas and also in the town. And finally, also in our work, there are three R's, which is germane in this conversation, which is reduce
Professor
when
Uche, okay,
like I
can hear you
said in
now.
my discussion, we should be able to get posters, or not posters, stickers that can put it on our cars that can remind us what we owe our environment. I say, do not litter because you are compliant to clean and green. Let us go green to get our planet clean. These are stickers you can put on our vehicles. Don't trash a picture. These are stickers beautifully designed. Like even the Clean and Green Initiative, there's a pin, there's a lapel pin. Once you say they are compliant to it, that's a wonderful initiative. I think I commend the Excellency Kingdom for his wonderful initiative. And we cannot go even to this. But in addition to those stickers, lapel pins, we can get stickers that can carry all these slogans. And also see how we can escalate this Clean and Green Initiative to the whole Nigeria as a nation. Because he has worked here in the state and people are confirming that he really worked, such good ideas should be escalated to the federal government. And that would be a good idea. Thank you very much for listening.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prof. Yeah.
For me, in closing, I want to thank everybody for your time. The day is fast spent. I want to align myself with the opinion of one great author known as Amartya Sen from Cambridge University. In his book, Development as Freedom, you'll find that we should not be bothered that development, the primary responsibility of government to develop its people, should the focus should be on enhancing the welfare, the well-being of human beings. and their freedom. And if you look at the trust of Clean and Green, it's geared towards freedom for the people and then the well-being of the people. So looking at it from these two standpoints, at that time, there was this policy, a robust educational policy in schools, primary, secondary schools, even the universities, that enhanced the consciousness of everybody from young age to look to go green, to keep our environment clean, and to plant a tree. So I would recommend that going forward, here in Nigeria, governments should look at, creating robust educational policies that will help catch our young people. Let them begin to understand. There are some children in Nigeria today that haven't planted a tree before. They don't even know how to plant a tree. Growing up, we did those things. We still do them now. You go to some homes, you don't even see flowers, you don't see trees, you don't see things that should beautify the environment and help with the oxygen we breathe and all that. So it should be encouraged. There should be a national policy to go green. Another thing I want to suggest is the political will. Just like His Excellency exhibited strong political will in Imo. At that time, every person, like Professor Remuke said, had either the sticker or the lapel. People will beautifully wear these things with pride to showcase that, look, we take this as our own. So our people should, when people do this, they take it, they own the project as their own. And that also, beyond development, also grants freedom. And I also think that we should be exemplary in behavior. People in government and the people under the leadership of government should understand that policies like this are beautiful policies that should be obeyed. It does not need too much of pressure from government for people to do the right thing. Once a policy is people oriented, people will follow it seamlessly, without trouble, without pressure. So just as it happened in Imo, it's still possible to have it in a greater scale. And again, for government to create green hubs, there is one created by Gregory University, Uturu, somewhere in Abuja, on the airport road. They have a green hub where people can come and learn, how to help themselves, learn new things on waste management, and all that. So many things to be learned there. So it's encouraged that people should, that both government and individuals in our country should look at how we can help ourselves, because it is not just a Liked or Hakim thing. It should be a people-oriented program. We should own this program, because if we go green, it improves our health, it improves our development, gives us more job opportunities, it puts more money in our pocket. It is holistic. It affects every facet of our life. Our environmental cleanliness is key. I encourage all of us to go green.
Dr. Mo, are you there?
Yes, thank you. Ambassador Duben, I believe, was the last speaker there. Thank you, especially all the guest lecturers and speakers who have been able to attend to this very critical engagement here today. And I see we have such a rounded, discussions from policy regulations to enforcement to, of course, public awareness and behavioral change, and also looking at what people like Hakim have championed, the innovation of green economy and the transitions that needs to be done. It is clear that this is something for all of us to do, from federal government to the private sector to civil societies like ours, youth movements, universities like FUTO, what you're doing. And it is apparently clear that in Nigeria is impossible without environmental justice, just like I pointed out in my introduction. And so beating plastic pollution and advancing clean and green initiative are not just environmental imperatives, but it is what is required for our national survival, as a strategy to that recovery. And it's a collective actions across all levels, as it has been
Yeah, no, 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 no,
overemphasized, overemphasized here today. Can you hear me? I think, Professor Remy, I
Yeah,
think your
yeah.
mic is on. Yeah, okay. And so that being said and been done, for me here is to say thank you to Ambassador Dubem, Professor Uche Remy, and especially John D. Thank you, Ambassador Barrister Ngozi, Field of Roses, and our highest honor also goes to Dr. Oyakim, who has been listening through this. And I hope that we would have you on a bigger scale on this street where we can be able to engage you and get young minds and people to be able to, glean from what you have done and also see how we can move forward. That being said, I want to say thank you to Mazi, who is also sharing this to a larger audience, even right now. Favor Johnson, Mbago, and everyone who has waited up until this time. I want to say a big thank you and happy World Environmental Day.